to Rhodes Rage. Today on Rhodes Rage we would like to address an issue called chemtrails. But not only do we wish to present you with the problem, we would also like to point out the reasons that people generally are not dealing with this problem. And the reason that people are not dealing with this problem is because people are managed by perception management. So, in addition to the issue of chemtrails, we would also like to address the issue of perception management. Now, perception management has been with us a long time. So I've prepared a little script here to go over and describe how long this has been a problem, why it is still a problem, and how they persist with this method of deception. Deception is not something new. Clearly, organized religion has played an important part in the deception of humanity throughout history. Religion has always been the most effective means of deception. More recently, however, say in the last 300 years, science, under the guise of being more sophisticated and more fair and more honest, right, has been employed as the new religion by simply replacing the priest with a hierarchy of peer-reviewed science. It used to be that only priests could decipher the word of God. Now, the new priests, or peer-reviewed scientists, if you will, are the only ones that can decipher the world of science. It's just like back in the 17th century when the priesthood forced Galileo to recant his position about the earth revolving around the sun instead of the other way around. Today, we have the peer-reviewed scientists telling us the only possible truths about such things as depleted uranium, genetically modified foods, and contrails, or what our position is, chemtrails. It's all just based on the prevailing authority. The new high priests are now denying that materials are being commonly dispersed in our atmosphere by jet aircraft. The line, we are told, is that these trails are harmless water vapor, which is being spread across our sky. We look to our icons, people such as David Suzuki, Elizabeth May, Jonathan Perrette, for assurances. These are the people with supposed respectable stature. Well, we are here to present the case that the population is being exposed to harmful aerial spraying of dangerous substances, and our favorite icons are not telling us about it. Icons such as Mr. Suzuki, Elizabeth May, people who claim to be concerned about the environment, concerned about nature, all the things that are supposed to be so holy to this new priesthood. How is it that these kingpins, these environmentalist leaders, can be so uninterested in the aerial spraying, which is become so commonplace in our skies? They don't tell us the truth, for the same reasons that the priests of old did not tell the truth. To take away freedom and power from the common people. In this case, they simply don't talk about the chemtrails being sprayed in our skies because it's not consistent with the talking points of the United Nations-backed environmentalist movement. Have you always seen these lines crossing the sky? Has it always been this way? They tell us it's just condensation trails from jet plane engines. But commercial jet airlines have been filling in our skies since the 1950s. So think back. Did you see this in your youth? Were the skies filled with crisscross streaks from jets back then? Did streaks then drift and haze out the sky? You can almost excuse the younger generation. They've had this going on their entire lives at this point. But for people that have been around since 1998, they should be able to recall and therefore assess and conclude that these streaks we see today are indeed peculiar and are not contrails. How is it possible that the majority of the population have not suspected the aerial spraying operation of this magnitude that's been going on so long? The reason is that the population is deceived. They are trusting the icons or the high priests of their day with their we-know-it-all attitude.
We'll have some few information for you. Okay, if you can take a look at it. Okay, because as a scientist, you should be aware of these things. Sure,
I know.
I'm trying to suggest that you take a look, that you develop a little suspicion, warranted suspicion. It doesn't take a history major to figure out that deception, lies, and indeed genocide have been widespread in both our distant and recent past. History teaches us that this is the way the predatory elite ruling class have always conducted themselves. This is actually an assault. This is actually a war. The difference is, this is a very sophisticated and stealth war. The fact is that white streaks smearing across the sky all day long is not a natural phenomenon. Chemtrails are not just condensation trails. Condensation trails never left this kind of impression on the sky 15 years ago. So why are they leaving them on the sky now? Go back. Look at your archives, your own archives, photographs from 15 years ago, and go beyond. And show me the condensation trails like the ones we have today that are left hanging across the sky. It's nonsense. Now, actually examine this with an inquisitive mind. These aerial sprayings are commonly known outside the mainstream media as chemtrails. That's because they're not condensation trails. Due to the unique nature of these trails, as compared with the normal contrails, they obviously have other substances in them. Please take a moment and think back. Remember. Go back in your memory. Did the skies have these trails in 1967, 1982, 1992? We actually contacted Mark Johnson, Mark Johnson, with Environment Canada, Media Relations regarding these trails. And this is what he said. So let's get this straight. First he says there are no materials being dispersed within any contrails other than water vapor and the regular byproducts of jet fuel combustion. Although, then he says there are materials being dispersed used in weather modification activities. When he says there's only one weather modification project going on in Canada, Weather Modification Inc., who are they and what are they doing, use silver iodide as a weather modification agent and seed developing conductive storms. Silver iodide is used for cloud seeding. Are we just supposed to trust anything these people say at any time? When we can see these trails being crisscrossed through the skies before our very eyes? Sorry, we need to pay closer attention than that.
Can I just get a quick comment? What are your thoughts on the geo-engineering that's happening in Canada right now?
Well, geo-engineering or GMO engineering?
Geo-engineering, yeah, atmospheric spraying.
But it's incredibly dangerous to think you can manipulate the global atmosphere. And we have to really make sure that we have global protocols before anyone begins any geo-engineering.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you.
What do you think about all the aerial spraying that we're seeing in the skies, Mr. Suzuki?
Chemtrails.
Chemtrails.
Yeah,
What is your opinion of chemtrails?
I have no opinion. I don't.
Do you not see the aerial spraying in the sky? Going from
I know. I know what you guys
you
are about.
realize
Yeah. Look, I'm not an expert in everything, right? You guys have your own.
I have some free information for you.
Okay, fine.
If you would simply take a look at it.
Okay,
Because
thank
as a
you.
scientist, you should be aware of these things. Sure.
I know.
It's so obvious in the environment that exists, right?
We have just shown you examples of these icons, such as Mr. Suzuki, Elizabeth May, both sidestepping this issue, indicating that, well, it sounds very serious, but it's not actually happening. This is how perception management works. I'd love to be wrong on this one. We in the alternative media would love to be proven wrong on this one. But we're not being proven wrong. They're just trying to ignore us. But ignoring us does not defend their position. We expect them to explain themselves. To get this to happen will take you, the public, to demand a true explanation of this phenomenon. We need to know what they are spraying, why they are spraying it, and if they have been spraying these things without our consent, the whole establishment of education, media, government had better be held accountable, or we better make sure that they regret not being accountable. So the next time you hear of a chemtrail rally taking place, get involved. It's either that or they are going to continue to poison our environment, yours and mine. It's up to you and me. Instead of the predatory ruling elite putting the fear of God into the common people, let's put the fear of a well-informed public with a good understanding of current scientific facts into the hearts of the predatory ruling elite.
I would like to know why you supported the NDP support for the invasion of Libya, which resulted in the death of many innocent civilians, women and children, and of course knowing that NATO employs the use of depleted uranium in their munitions. You must have realized this was a highly dangerous environmental move. So why do you support such conduct?
Hope in the world is to follow international law. Our only hope in the world is to follow international law.
So why do you support such conduct?
The United Nations Charter provides that one of the basic things that you're supposed to do as an international community is to protect citizens of a country from attacks, gratuitous attacks by the government.
You're protecting citizens by bombing them?
Well, let's look at the situation as it existed before, and let's look at what existed now. International organizations have just completed their assessment of the elections that took place in Libya. We've replaced, because he was attacking his own citizens, Gaddafi. We now have an election that international organizations all concur was extremely fair and a model for an election in a country that's never had any democratic process before. A dictator there who was indeed subjugating and killing his own people, replacing him with a democratic system, I consider that to be progress, and you're free not to agree.
But guys, come on, have some class and verify your sources, for Christ's sake. Conspiracy nuts? What are you, nuts? You goddamn
Believe that uranium is
seriously,
a conspiracy?
Do you think that there's any proof that these people want to shoot depleted uranium at people? No, there is not.
Is it being used?
Prove it. I would like you to prove it. I want a piece of the depleted uranium found on...
There are people that went and cleaned up in Desert Storm.
Yeah, that's Desert Storm. That's Desert Storm. That's on Bush. That's on Bush.
That was depleted. Why I'm not have no comment on
you've had the answer.
Being bombed in Libya?
No, I totally agree with the leader.
You agree with the leader? Absolutely. So you agree with using depleted uranium in Libya? And
I agree with what my leader said. Absolutely.
I see. Okay, thank you. What do you think about the invasion of Libya and the bombing of people with depleted uranium? Is that a good idea for us to be doing? You have no comment on that?
Got a comment.
Are you concerned about the women and children that were killed in Libya during that invasion? What about contaminating the area with depleted uranium?
That's harassment.
That is a question.
That is harassment. Guys, come on, have some class and verify your sources, for Christ's sake. Conspiracy nuts? What are you, nuts?
Next is Brad Rhodes. Brad also ran for the Canadian Action Party because of their monetary policies. So welcome, Brad. Also a member of We Are Change Victoria.
Thank you. It's great being out here. I'm glad to see so many people came out. And I'm also of the sentiment that we should be going like way back to Douglas and back to the highway with people gathering. If they actually knew what was actually going on. Where do I start? I'm a regular guy, just like most of you people. I work, I raise my kids, I pay my bills. I come home tired, turn on the TV, and try to get caught up on what's going on in the world and where I'm at. And unfortunately, the fact is, people, we've been had. Us working people who just want to take care of our kids and have a life and get along, and we try to go along to get along. We've been had really bad. Okay, and we're being had because we all want to do the right thing for our children. We all want them to have a good education. We want them to have places to live. We want them to have a free society, freer from terrorism and brutality and all these things. But the problem is that you can't make intelligent decisions on how to, take care of your family and vote and do things if you're getting false information. Yeah. Okay? Now that's how we're being had. We're not getting the message. We don't understand what I hear murmurs in the crowd. Oh yeah, well, that's awful conspiracy theory-ish sort of stuff there. I don't. Okay, fine. Have you ever been misinformed about things before? Have you ever heard of the Gulf of Tonkin incident that's kicked off Vietnam? Who gave you that information? The media. Okay. What about? Hey, how about those weapons of mass destruction? See, do we see a problem here? Is there a problem? Yeah, there's a problem. The problem is we're not getting the proper information to make intelligent decisions to try to improve our society. If you don't know what the blueprint is, how are you supposed to build the building? If the media is supposed to be our eyes and ears, then we need them to give us what is actually happening so that we can see clearly and think clearly to address these conspiracy theories such as chemtrails, 9/11. I mean, if they will lie to you to get you into war before, and there's a pattern, then you must start to realize that there's a problem where you're getting your information from. Now, we are Change Victorias, and we are here to try to give information to people so they can make those intelligent decisions. You see, when you're dealing with the media, you got to realize they're actors, okay? And they're actors who lie. Yeah, they read a script like a teleprompter and they lie. And the fact that they do it for money means that actually they're whores. Yeah. Okay, prostitutes. You see, now you can criminalize and browbeat somebody for being a whore, but what about the person that believes the lies of a whore? What do you think about that person? That person is a fool. Okay, so we're being fooled again, and we're being had. All right, and this is the issue. So why aren't we back to Douglas Street? Because people don't know what's going on. They don't have the information. Okay, so We Are Change is an organization. We do try to provide alternative media sources so you can cut through all the deception. Like the weapons of mass destruction, like babies being thrown out of incubators, like all the garbage that is being fed to us so our children can go across the sea and fight with depleted uranium and be dead in 10 years. Now, if you knew about depleted uranium in the ammunition, would you send your kid to the front line? I don't think so. But the problem is you don't know about it. And we've got to get the information to the people. We've got to get these information out now because there are spraying chemtrails. And if you think I'm a conspiracy freak or whatever, that's great. That's fine. But would you at least do the research? You've got to go around the mainstream media. And look up. And you've got to look up in the skies and you've got to get involved. And then when we actually get involved in these alternative sources of information, we'll actually get people to have a clue. Then we will have the whole place filled with people. Then we will say, stop spraying now. We will say, get out of Iraq and Afghanistan now. And those people responsible for putting depleted uranium in the warheads will be prosecuted and brought to justice. And that's standing behind your troops. Okay? Not wearing a little yellow band on the back of your vehicle. Anyways, don't get me started. I would just like to encourage people to get involved and educate others, because if we don't really fast, it doesn't look very good for us. Thank you.
Good stuff, Brad.